Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of TEDCO Talks. My name is Troy Lamel Stovall, and I serve as the Chief Executive Officer and Executive Director for TEDCO. And part of what we do here at TEDCO is we try to play this great knitter of all the great resources and all the great talent and all the great opportunities that exist in TEDCO. And some of those great opportunities exist at our county level. And we have some great leaders at the county level. And one of those is with us today. And I'm so happy to have Kelly Robertson-Slagle from Calvert County here to talk to us today. Kelly, thank you for spending time with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to this, Troy.
Cool. So why don't you tell folks, we have hope. Well, we know we have listeners, not just in Maryland, but across the country, in some cases the world, a little bit about Calvert County.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you for starting with that, because we do like to brag about beautiful Calvert County as much as possible. Calvert County, by geography, is the smallest county in the state of Maryland. We have about 92,000 wonderful residents there. And what really makes us unique is that we are bordered by the water on both sides. So we abut the Chesapeake Bay. So we have a lot of really cool sites and attractions and places that you can see directly on the Chesapeake Bay. And then on the other side by the Patuxent River. And to the north, we're not that far south of Washington, D.C. And to the south, we abut the Pax River Naval Air Station in St. Mary's County. So I like to mention that because we're also surrounded by history as well. Right. Great place to come and visit.
That sounds beautiful. It sounds beautiful. And it sounds like a great place to visit. I think it's a peninsula, actually. Technically, it's a peninsula, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah, technically, that's what I think, the way you were describing that. Well, let's hear a little bit about Kelly. Let's learn about Kelly. And one of the ways I like to pose this question, Kelly, is we want to hear about your journey and how you got to what you do there in Calvert County, and we'll talk more about that. But it's not so much talking to me, but talking to the audience, and particularly there might be a young lady out there who will recognize a part of your journey and see something in it or hear something in it and say, I can be that too. And so I talk to that person. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Sure. Thank you for that. I truly, and that speaks to me, Troy, because I have a passion for mentorship, especially for young females in leadership roles and mentoring them along the way. But I'll be honest, I am a Southern Maryland girl born in Charles County, 7th generation, born here. So my parents, my grandparents, my great-great-grandparents had a really, just really natural, fun, surrounded by family childhood growing up. Graduated from La Plata High School, went on to the College of Southern Maryland, which I'm still actively involved in supporting, and was one of the first in my family to go on to the University of Maryland College Park, and ended up receiving my degree in marketing. Gotcha. And, I came back to my hometown and it was like, okay, what am I going to do? And ended up getting my first job, believe it or not, working for a wonderful defense contractor affiliated with Pax River Naval Air Station. And, I feel like that kind of started my journey in, quasi-government, a little bit of economic development, but really understanding that contracting and government arena. And I got married, wanted to get something a little bit closer to home. That's usually what happens. We started to have a family. And then ultimately, I tell people, I literally fell into economic development. I was able to get a great, I would say, entry-level position at the College of Southern Maryland, much closer to home. And an opportunity opened up for a regional representative position for what was then the Maryland Department of Business and Economic Development, or DBED, as some of us recall. And that really started my journey in economic development. I had some wonderful, wonderful mentors along the way, names that a lot of us in economic development throughout the state know and love, Bob Brennan, Larry Tweel, Vernon Thompson, among others. I don't want to, I had a ton.
But you'll be like the Academy Award winners. You're going to leave a name out.
I know I'm going to leave a name out. Somebody's going to get upset. But, I've just had a lot of support over the years and, really started at that state level in the region. And then from there was able to kind of grow my career and my knowledge in economic development, which ultimately brought me to Calvert County. I first started in Calvert doing business retention, which is really where my core, my passion is, which is working with the existing business community, making sure that they have the resources that they need to thrive and grow.
Yep.
And then ultimately was offered the opportunity to be director. So I've been director just shy of 4 years. Absolutely love it. Have a fantastic team in Calvert that works alongside me, and definitely this past year, which I know we'll talk about a little bit later.
Exactly. Yep.
But going back to your thing, if I can speak to somebody that, how did you get here? Don't be afraid to take a risk. Don't be afraid to try something a little bit different. And don't be afraid to seek out mentorship opportunities, because I can tell you, I would not be doing what I'm doing today had I not sought out those mentorship opportunities to really, be able to rely on at different stages in my career. And, one of them that I mentioned earlier, I actually spoke to about 2 weeks ago. So they're still involved.
Is there a story you could tell someone that can help someone, how that mentorship kind of helped you along your career? Is there a story you'd like to share?
Sure. When I started in economic development, not to give away my age, but I was in my early 20s. So, at some tables that I was a part of, some discussions that I was a part of, there was a sense that it's like, I wonder what she's doing here. So I needed to develop that confidence and that sense of, I do deserve to be here. I do provide relevant information to the conversation. And I really felt like that's where some of that mentorship came into play. Also for networking purposes. I mean, really being able to open up doors for me personally, considering I was brand new to the industry, really brand new to understanding all of the different, even back then, and they've quadrupled since then, but the resource partners and how everybody kind of works together for the common goal of growing economic development within the state. I would say those two have been very impactful for me. And there's times where, even now, I mean, I've been doing this for almost 25 years, where I just get stuck. I just get stuck.
You do the age thing. You do the age thing. So you slip. You slip, Kelly. You slip, Kelly.
I just get stuck. And, it's nice to be able to pick up the phone and call you, Troy, call some of my other colleagues and say, I'm stuck on this. Can you help brainstorm with me and try to help me get to some logical next steps in order to get, these projects moving forward, and to have that is just invaluable. It really is.
I have the same sense. And one of the things, I was just talking to some young men the other day that I try to help mentor. And I say, as much as I'm pouring into them, they have an obligation to pour into others. I mean, if it sounds like you have that, people have poured into you, and so you're willing to pour into others. And that's how I describe mentorship. It's about pouring. People have poured into and continue to pour into me. And so therefore I have to pour into others.
Absolutely.
So let's talk. So I started this off with talking about all these partnerships that we have across the state, and some of the great work that happens at the county level that you help lead there in Calvert. And people may not know within TEDCO, I think a lot of people know about funding mechanisms, and those are obviously extremely important. But we have these support mechanisms, which actually have funding to them too. And one of the more successful ones is RBII, a Rural Business Innovation Initiative. And for folks that don't know, what we have individuals that are across the state. We kind of divided the state into Western, Southern, Shore, Upper Shore regions. And we have individuals who work with folks like Kelly to identify, support, source, and grow companies in these rural areas where there are different types of challenges versus urban areas. And so being cognizant of that and not assuming that TEDCO has all the answers, but that through our partnerships, we can supply those things. So thank you for being a part of RBII. I know you're a big part. You want to talk about RBII and some of the work we've done there in Calvert?
Sure, absolutely. RBII program, and we've been a partner with TEDCO in that program for many years. We're very, very lucky to have Tiffany, who's our consultant in Southern Maryland, and she's fantastic. I look at that particular program and as well as my team as one more tool in our tool belt, or our kind of workhorse that we pull to, depending on, what the individual entrepreneur or business is looking at doing. And we've had some great success. One of them, Hot Flight, if I can just talk about them.
Absolutely. Yes.
What a fantastic, just super cool company. And they're, what they are inventing and pulling together, which is, I call it Uber in the air, basically. That's the easiest way to say it. So basically it's, using UAVs. And ultimately I can, call to my house and say, hey, I need to get to Prince Frederick, and they would come and land. Yep. I would load up with my stuff, and I could conveniently work on my way and get dropped off via air. Don't have to be along the roads. It dropped off right there in Prince Frederick to my office. So that's a really simplistic way of explaining it. But they came to us with an idea. That's how that started, was, hey, is this possible? And, we were able to connect them with TEDCO and the RBII program to be able to do that, basic kind of triaging of the thoughts, getting the information down, that consulting, that really innovative consulting that they needed to be able to get that, their project and their thought process to, further along. And boy, have they. I mean, my goodness, they were the top 20. They were selected as one of the top 20 innovators by Commerce this year.
Yes.
I know they went with Commerce to pitch to Silicon Valley last year. They're getting a lot of interest and potential funding out of it. So, and that was in Little Calvert County, in one of the rural counties within the state of Maryland, and having the ability to tap into TEDCO and kind of that knowledge bank and those resources that are really specialized for entrepreneurs and very innovative companies like that really made the difference. That's just one. We've had several that have gone through the program of all different shapes and sizes and ideas. And we will continue to send businesses through that program. One of the things that I do want to mention is, what I like about it is, we don't just drop off Hot Flight to TEDCO and then we don't hear again. It's an ongoing relationship, back and forth. Tiffany will touch back in with us. We'll check back in with her. We'll do joint site visits. We'll do check-ins. And so it's an ongoing relationship. Yeah. And I look at it as we're all there together as support services wrapped around that business to get them to where they need to be. And then we all get to celebrate in their success. So right. It's a good partnership.
Well, I appreciate that. And I'll make sure I pass on your words to Miss Davis. She is great. She's an amazing young lady. And just what she does for TEDCO, what she does for her own business is just super. But yeah, I love the Hot Flight. I think you're right. It's Uber in the sky is what I've called it as well. So we have the same tagline for them, and it is a pretty cool idea. But it speaks to the type of talent we have in Maryland, in our rural areas in particular, and that entrepreneurship isn't limited to the traditional urban places. And so appreciate all the work that you do to make it happen. And so for our listeners to understand, as Kelly pointed out, RBI is both a collaboration, and advising, and frankly, even a funding. We provide some early stage funding. The goal is to get them in a place so they can actually make their way to our traditional venture and eventually to our institutional investors to your point, make them as big as they want to be. So that's what we're excited about with that one. So that's great. So let's to your point, transition to this. We're sitting here in late March, and we're still dealing with COVID. Tell us something that Kelly's done during this last year for yourself. We'll talk about the business side, but just Kelly, how have you managed your personal self in this last year when we had to kind of, isolate ourselves from the world?
Oh my goodness. What a big question that is. Kelly's done a lot personally. And honestly, and I'll say probably even selfishly, although I'm not a real big fan of that word, but because of the magnitude of the impact that I would say COVID has had on, professionally on my team and our team, and, as their director, I feel like, first and foremost, my responsibility is to them. but then also balancing my home life.
Yeah.
I'm the mom of two amazing children. One of them is away at college, which, those of moms that are watching right now who've had kids away at college in the middle of all this, it's scary.
Yes,
It's
it
very
is.
scary. I would have loved to snatch her home and put her right here at this dining room table behind me to finish up her college. But that isn't the case. My husband and I, her dad, we talked about it. And we're like, nope. And so it's been the checking in on her, making sure things are good. She goes to Coastal Carolina. I can't say enough about that university. They've done a fabulous job
That's cool.
communicating, keeping all of the students there safe. And then, and my son who works outside the home every day. We also moved in the middle
Oh my God.
into a brand new home. So I will tell you personally for Kelly, probably moving, although it being a very chaotic time to do it, it was probably a blessing because I had something to focus on.
Oh, focus on. Yeah.
And I would say focus on and be able to control, meaning moving, decorating, unboxing, organizing. That took me through probably the first 6 months. And then after that, I wanted to take the time to really get out and spend some time with me. So walking the neighborhood from a distance, saying hi, meeting my new neighbors, things along those lines, and kind of taking the time to, get the exercise in and mentally, being able to take some time away from this wonderful telework desk that I've spent a lot of time at here over the last year. And, just kind of putting myself first in that respect, because I think it's important. It's a lot. Mentally, it's been very draining. It really has and exhausting, but, we're here. That's what our job is. We're here to support.
You said something there. I think it's important that I try to exercise. There is sometimes you have to be about self. There's a difference between being about self and putting self first versus being selfish. And there's a fine line there. But I think I've learned that in this whole thing is that, how do I put myself first? Because if I'm not good, then I'm not good for my family. I'm not good for TEDCO and other my church that I serve. And so, being able to find the time for me, has been a big part of this.
Absolutely. I like the way that you put that. I'm going to remember that.
Yeah, because there's selfish, which, has, it is what it is. But putting self first is to me, is different than being selfish.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But you mentioned your team, and I am curious as how you've had to manage differently and how not just manage the team, but how you had to manage kind of Calvert County economic development. How do you think about that in this era of COVID?
Another good question. It's been a year of change in many ways. Super blessed that the team that we have in economic development in Calvert, we have a lot of years of experience combined. A handful of us have been through what I would call federally designated disasters, or MEMA, usually weather related, not pandemic related, but we were somewhat familiar with kind of what the process and what was to come. So that was very helpful for us to immediately, from the moment that we're like, okay, this is more than just a week here. This, we could see the signs and the symptoms that this was going to be something that was a little bit more long-term. We were able to pivot really quickly and pull together a response team with our partners. So the Small Business Development Center, our local chamber, our local representatives in workforce and with commerce, to be able to be lockstep with us as we were getting phone calls and triaging with our businesses and that sort of thing. And we weren't being repetitive and tripping and stepping all over each other. That's what we didn't want. So that was really successful, and actually remained successful, but was really successful in the beginning because we were approaching our businesses with assistance in a very coordinated manner. So they knew no matter if they called the chamber or if they were able to get a hold of us or our regional rep from Commerce, that all of the information was going to be flowed into one database so we could track, we could respond, we could capture emails, we could make sure that they were getting the relevant information quickly to be able to make decisions that were best for them. So that's, for the business community, that was early on. Now for my team, we immediately actually went virtual pretty quickly. And by virtual, I mean, we closed our office door, meaning we were still available, but we because of safety reasons, we didn't want the business community just to show up unexpected. We needed to have a sense of coordination and flow of information. So we were one of the first departments to actually physically close to the public, but we were still working, from our offices. And then little by little, as other things kind of started to happen and unfold, schools were starting to close, daycares were starting to close, things like that. We started going into the telework type of situation. And then ultimately we went to full telework, which is what we've been on, for the last several months. This entire time, I can tell you, we did not miss a beat. We did not miss a phone call. We did not miss an email. Virtually, we still were able to provide the same level of service that we were from even when we were face-to-face and in our office in Prince Frederick. Really, I have to give kudos and big thanks to I'll say the county management, our county administrator, and our board of county commissioners for providing us the support, not just in computer equipment, but otherwise to allow us to make that transition so quickly. I mean, we were within days, we're able to get full technology set up in each one of our homes. So we didn't have to have any downtime. And that took a lot of coordination and a lot of just, other departments dropping everything to assist us because they knew that it was so important for us to just be able to continue operating at the same pace that we were. So big thanks to them. We couldn't have done it without them.
So congratulations. And that sounds like you did, like you said, you didn't miss a beat, but I'm curious in that sounds like there were a couple of things that you put into place that sounds like they might stay into place after this pandemic is over. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things, and this is, believe it or not, this really isn't COVID related. It's just, I would say, more growth of county government related. Because we've been doing such a good job teleworking, our team is going to remain in a virtual telework type of situation for the next probably 2 years while our new county services building is being constructed. We actually gave up our space for the health department to relocate there because they needed to come out of one of the buildings that's going to be brought down in order for the new building to go up. We will have a home base. I call it kind of our nerve center that we have. It's already set up. So when we get to the point that we can meet back together as a team, we will have a location to be able to do that has a couple hoteling spaces and things like that for folks to be able to go and plug in if they can't work from home or just wants to change a pace. So that's one of the things. The other thing is our business response team. We had kind of, I would say, deployed it in the past, but on a much smaller scale after some of our weather events that I had mentioned before. Obviously, button up against the Chesapeake Bay, we get a lot of, and hurricanes and other things, flooding, all those fun things like that. That's why we knew it worked. But to see the coordination that we've been able to have through the last year, we feel very strongly that we want to continue to have that group together. Now, we may not meet as frequently and we may not deploy as much as we did before, but we understand the process now as a whole with all the different partners. And we know that we can quickly pick that group up and deploy them as needed, depending on, what the topic is, what the situation. It may be a fire, or maybe, let's hope not, but something like along those lines, or just an economic development issue or challenge that we need to just get the word out to the community. We can utilize this response team.
So what you're saying is that COVID has taught you that you can operate remotely and still have some impact.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I'm curious as to your observations, Sass, and you may have more observations, but thoughts of kind of the impact COVID has had on kind of the business community there in Calvert and more specifically the entrepreneurial kind of activities there in Calvert.
So it's been interesting to be a part of the dynamic that COVID has brought to Calvert over the last year. Without a doubt, and I do not try to sugarcoat this in any way, shape, or form, we have been impacted in many ways, our community, and it has been heartbreaking in some ways. Our team has heard some really, really heartbreaking stories, whether it be from constituents that are unemployed and having challenges, or business owners that are making tough decisions as to whether they need to downsize employees and what's next. So, we've been there for them, no matter what the conversation is.
Good for you.
We've been there
Good
for
for you.
them to be able to provide advice. That being said, in 2020, we also gained 68 new businesses in Calvert.
Outstanding. Outstanding.
We
Bravo.
have also maintained all of the projects that were in our commercial development pipeline prior to the pandemic, and we are now cutting the ribbon on some of them. We've been able to get new clients and new, development projects, calls of interest. Surprisingly, new, unique, that are folks, Delaware, from outside the state. I mentioned Delaware because we got 2 of them in the last 2 weeks, but businesses that are interested in coming and looking and seeing what Calvert has to offer. So at the same time of putting our arms around our existing community and helping them and helping them hang on and getting them what they need and distributing almost $3.5 million worth of grants since June.
Bravo.
With those folks, we've also had some successes on the other side. So, it's not, we've been impacted, but there's still sun on the horizon in Calvert. And I think in the state of Maryland, honestly.
I like the way you said you put your arms around the folks. I know you and I had a chance to talk about this. I've talked to some other folks on the shore about this, but one of the data points I got a few months ago was that the housing inventory there on the shore had reached kind of a low, and same thing was happening in Western Maryland. There was becoming kind of a de-urbanization. It's not a huge, but there's a good enough numbers. People are recognizing, like your team, that I don't have to be in Rockville or Baltimore or Prince George's. I could be in, and as long as I come in once or twice a week, I can get the work done. Are you seeing some of that?
We are, and it's an interesting point that you bring up, and I'm not surprised to hear that about that on the shore either. We're in direct communication, like so residential and commercial, and they will tell you we're same thing. It is very hard. When new homes come on the market, there's multiple offers. They're outbidding each other. They're coming with cash offers. And one of the things which has been nice, some of the higher end homes that are right on the Chesapeake Bay, that were, there's a certain demographic that can afford that type of home.
Yep.
They've been snapped up. They've really, some of them that were on the market 1-2 years looking for that right buyer, they've been snapped up. So the counter side of that is we've got about 3 or 4 market rate condo and apartment projects. I would say, I like to say it's diversity of housing in our county, because that has been a challenge for us in Calvert. That's no secret.
Yep.
Any statistics that you see for Calvert, we're traditionally known for the 2-story with the pool in the backyard and the 3 acres. So folks like my children that may want to come back probably don't want that right out of college, but they do want to be able to have a really nice kind of lifestyle. They're coming back from college where they're used to that communal, everybody's together, gathering spaces, gardening, pool, dog walk, all of that kind of stuff. And these new projects are offering those type of amenities, very walkable, just really fun properties that we're very excited about, because it is offering some more diversity and options in Calvert that we just haven't had before, or we've had very limited supply of.
And I think for me, getting back to TEDCO piece is that's about talent, right? And as talent begins, so the opportunities that we maybe would have seen in Pickett County, around the urban area, around the 95 corridor, now might happen in Calvert, because there's a different concentration of talent that's if you will, exodus to Calvert County.
Absolutely. And one thing that I think surprises, it may or may not, sometimes I'm like, oh, really? People are surprised to hear this, but we are a bedroom community to Washington, D.C. And a tremendous amount of our residents work for the federal government and work for labs and work for, defense type things, and are engineers and are scientists and are super smart. and are doing their little thing on the side in their garage.
Yep.
And as a result of that, we've had some success in really getting them out of their garage and out into the general public, and now are multi-million-dollar firms. But they started with the knowledge that they gained. They transitioned out of the federal government, started in their homes, and then were able to grow. And I feel like Calvert really has a niche in that area, with support from organizations like TEDCO and the Small Business Development Center and others. We've been able to see some successes in that.
Cool. Well, I want to close with kind of a rapid couple of just, I'm gonna say a word, first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
Have some fun.
Okay.
Right. Chesapeake.
Crabs.
Calvert.
Beautiful.
TEDCO.
Fun.
I like that. You stopped me on that one, because that's not what I thought you were gonna say. Oh, now I gotta go back to what I was gonna. Maryland.
Changing.
So this is not a word. So you gotta get. So favorite book.
The Bible.
Ah, very good. Recent movie.
Harriet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Favorite vacation spot.
Oh, that's a hard one. I have several, but I would say my favorite vacation spot is without a doubt Key West, Florida.
Yeah. Those beautiful sunsets. Oh, there's some gorgeous sunsets there. Yeah, it's very laid back. I mean, you go there to do nothing.
Exactly. That's why I like it.
You go there to do nothing. Kelly, thank you for your time today. Thank you for, more importantly, what you do for Calvert and for the state of Maryland, and with TEDCO. I appreciate you, and we appreciate you.
Thank you, Troy. And I appreciate this opportunity. And I look forward to having you down to Calvert soon. I know we got something in the plans and the works, but we would love to have you. And thank you.
Thank you. So to the listeners, thank you again for listening. Thank you. Hope you took away something. And more importantly, hope you get a chance to get down to Calvert County and spend some time in Calvert County. But again, this is Troy Lamel-Stovall, CEO and Executive Director of TEDCO. Thank you for listening to another TEDCO Talks. See you next time.